Fifth grade, we've got our last two sections, the Southern Colonies. We've got Maryland and we have Georgia. Starting in Maryland, we're going to be looking for the reason for why it was founded. Cecilius Calvert, an English nobleman also known as Lord Baltimore, started the colony of Maryland in 1634. He hoped to make money from the colony. Lord Baltimore also wanted to provide a safe place for Catholics like him. In England and in some places of the colonies, Catholics were treated harshly. So, safe place for the Catholics. Again, religious freedom. Maryland's geography was well suited for planting and selling tobacco. So just looking at that geography, good land for tobacco. This crop grew well in the hot, steamy summers. Chesapeake Bay was a route to the ocean for most settlers, and farmers near the bay could ship their crops to England and other places. Unfortunately, the climate also encouraged mosquitoes that spread deadly diseases. So they also had a good ocean route. Then we're going to look at how they made money in their economy. There were so many kinds of jobs in the colony. Most colonists worked on small farms, growing tobacco, corn, wheat, and fruit trees. Some farmers raised cattle for beef and milk. Other industries included lumbering, shipping, and fishing. So we've got farming, lumbering, fishing, and shipping. Some people made money by selling or buying and selling slaves. Some wealthy families owned tobacco plantations where enslaved Africans and indentured servants did most of the work. So this is a painting of the founding of Maryland. It shows the importance of the Catholic religion to those who settled in Maryland. The priest at the left blessed the group of settlers, right here, the group of settlers and the American Indians. Most colonists had little power in Maryland's government. Lord Baltimore made his brother Leonard Calvert the governor of the colony. So, again, little power. Calvert made the decisions until 1637 when he allowed the colony to have an assembly. For the most part, only white men with property voted for members of the assembly. Over time, more non-Catholics moved to the colony. Calvert had the assembly pass a law to protect Catholics' rights to vote and serve in the government. These rights were denied to Catholics in some of the other colonies. So they had a little power, and then it went to an assembly. But they were always trying to protect the Catholics. So that's looking at Maryland. We see the growing amount of, where it didn't really talk about slavery up in the north, a little bit in the middle colonies, but it's going to be a bigger way that they made money and a bigger ordeal in the South than it was in any other part of the country. On to Georgia. The Southern Colony of Georgia was the last colony founded by Great Britain, and it was started in 1732 for two main reasons. So this is going to be important for why it was founded. First, the British government wanted to keep Spanish troops from moving Florida. So we're going to write that down. So Britain wanted to keep Spain south. The colonists in Georgia first tried to make treaties with the American Indian tribes of Florida. In 1742, Spanish troops launched an attack against British troops in Georgia. Though the attack was not successful, British and Spanish troops continued to fight along the border for the next few years. So right on the border down there, they were trying to fight for this land, and there was going to be a lot of fighting that continued on in that area. Second, some wealthy British men wanted to help poor people avoid going to debtor's prison. So they were actually trying to help the poor. A debtor is someone who owes something to another person, and at that time, these people went to jail if they could not pay off their bills. Sending debtors to Georgia rather than to jail gave them a new start because they could now earn a living in the new colony. When they arrived in Georgia, each debtor received 50 acres of land to farm. However, debtors could not sell the land they were given. So people who basically had no money would go down to Georgia, get a new start, and then they were able to get land and farm so that they could start selling that and making money. Georgia's geography was ideal for growing crops. Winters were mild, but summers were long, hot, and humid. So they had mild winters, long, hot summers. Good for crops. This climate was good for growing indigo, a plant used to make blue dye. The southern part of Georgia was mostly swamp, which was ideal for growing rice. Later on, farmers grew tobacco and cotton. So they also had swamp. But that was good for making the rice. Then going on to the economy. So we know that there was farming, but they did have other jobs. So in the north, settlers cut down forests and sold the lumber for homes, also leaving cleared areas that could be used as farmland. Other colonists earned a living by trading goods with American Indians. So they cut down forests, and also traders. At first, only the rich men who had started the colony took part in running the government. They passed laws that they thought were best for the colony. One of these laws made slavery illegal. In 1752, however, these men turned control of the colony to Great Britain's King George II. The king allowed white male voters to elect an assembly, with the exception that he could overturn any law the assembly passed. New laws made slavery legal, and it soon became widespread. So the government went from rich men to the king, and then to an assembly. But the king still had power. So there was little power for the people. And the king made it that slavery became legal, which is going to become something that we look deeper into in the next lesson. Fifth grade, you should have the rest of this completed. That takes us to the end of our lesson, and we'll look further into the choosing a career in the colonies and the exploring of it next week.